Right. Well, I've just wasted a little bit of time. I think to a certain to a certain degree, thought gets in the way. Philosophy gets in the way of being able to just see clearly. As clearly as the Christ-like minds. The problem is we think with language. That's the problem. And language is a simplification. It's a way to digest. It's kind of like how a fly vomits onto its food before it eats it. We create language so we can digest reality more easily. Without language to describe all of this stuff and what is occurring, it would be difficult to handle, and especially considering we are social. So, but in the you know, when we are introspective, when we are doing an introspection, we use this language. And so when we try to, so if we're using it for ourselves and then communicate it to others, then we're using this digestion, and not only does that not communicate appropriately what we actually experience, unless it is a very concise explanation, or unless we use the correct kind of symbolisms and things like that, which can be helpful. The problem is, though, language becomes a barrier, and it becomes, we try to work within the realm of language rather than working in the realm of this of reality. The idea that the atoms themselves have intention. Where do they get their intention from? Where do they get their general principles of activity from? Not in themselves. They in themselves are not of themselves, in a way. It is the laws of physics, the subjective laws of physics, which give them their ability of activity in the first place. Without this subjective, the objective could not exist. That comes first. The subjective comes first, exists beyond time, beyond matter. But matter is more beautiful in the ways that it is complex yet simple. It is rare relative to itself, even the parts, the little bits and pieces of itself. Each of those are rare and unique among themselves, relative to themselves, relative to itself. It is unique. It's interesting. I mean, you and I, have so much in common in our perspective of the idea of our complexity versus a blade of grass or whatever, that we see the same kind of awesomeness. And so there is that relative to itself idea, relative to a blade of grass, relative to itself. there is more awesomeness. But relative to nothing, relative to the subjective, what are we? I mean, the idea that the matter itself pertains to the consciousness, I don't think it has consciousness in it. I think that it is a thing in itself, created or expressed by the consciousness. But I don't think it is of the consciousness. I think it is measured by the consciousness separately. Yet it is, in that measurement, one and glorified, more so than if it were itself. Because what is more beautiful to someone than something that is beautiful, that they are admiring, that isn't themselves? That is a part of, that they can recognize is a part of themselves as well. Because if you could see, if it's something that you can't ever have, or if it's something that isn't in you, it's lost to you. It has to be in you in order for you to appreciate it in someone else. The amateur artist loves the professional artists who are greater than him, because he has he has it in himself, but they have it far greater and he can appreciate it more. Same way as the beauty of the complexity of time to the beauty of the simplicity, awesomeness of the subjective. They glorify each other by their contrast. The more complicated time becomes, the more awesome the subjective perspective, because they are ultimately one. Reality is that relationship. And in that we are a representation of that relationship. We are a representation of God's relationship, the ultimate, the true ultimate union. We are a representation. Everything's a representation of it, because it is it. We are that. Nothing can escape this cycle of representation, because reality, we are, you can't help but be reality, and it's not necessarily something you would want to escape from in the first place. This is awesome. So yeah, I wanted to get that point across. You know, I mean, there's probably very little that we would disagree upon. That's good. It's coincidence, and it's good. I hope this. I hope we can make more correspondence. Indeed, I'll probably be on Stickam tonight, so although it might be a little bit late, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna sign off.